Right, up on the bench today, and I've already done a little bit of poking and prodding. I'm going to catch you up to where I am at. But here we have a Denon, beautiful, like mint condition, Denon DR-M20 3-head cassette deck. So here's what's going on, and this is a common problem with these from what my research has shown. But if I turn it on, right, really faint counter, no meters. So I'm going through and troubleshooting, right, what might cause that. Now, the only thing I've done so far is I started testing for voltages, and I am looking at the schematic. I'll try to flash up what I'm referencing right now, but when I look at the board responsible for illuminating the fluorescent meters, right, it connects to the power supply board through this ribbon cable here. And we have pin 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So pin 1 and 2, no voltage to concern ourselves with. Pin 3, we should have 9 volts. I'm just going to show you down here. All right, pin 3, we should have 9 volts. So let me go there. We have 9 volts. 4, nothing. 5, we should have negative 18, and we have 0.5. So we have something going on in the power supply, and we have to figure out where our negative 18 volts is going, why it's not there. So I'm going to have to bounce around to a couple of different spots in the schematic to figure out what would influence that negative 18 volts. What I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to come up with a couple of different things that I can test. I may test some on or off camera. My big fat head's going to have to get in the way though. So I may just do it and come back and let you know what I have found. But something in the power supply is not feeding this board the negative 18 volts that it requires. So I'm going to see if I can figure out what that component is, or the components are, and hopefully fix it and get that fluorescent display back. Well, I've kind of done some initial poking and prodding, and unfortunately this is one of those boards that you can't access from the bottom. So I'm going to have to design, let me tell you. I'm going to have to remove this board. I'm going to have to unscrew it, and I think unscrew it, lift it out, disconnect all of these connectors, and then test the components kind of individually that are in that, that are involved in that negative 18 volts. See if I can, because I can't really determine anything from the top. I can't really test any of the capacitor legs that I need to get to. So yeah, I'm going to have to do that. So I'm going to do that off camera, do some poking and prodding, pull some components, see if I can figure out what is causing this issue. All right, before I get too far with removing this board, I want to tell you what I've had to do. Plus, I'm keeping a record for myself. So I've removed a couple of screws on the board. I have one here and one back there. One over here with the little metal bar. Don't know what this does, but it was just getting in my way. One here on this little ground wire. And then I removed as many of these clips as I can. Looks like I got a couple more I might be able to pull off here. And hopefully I can get this board to a position where I can start to look at the components. Maybe. And these connectors, not all of the connectors are removable, which is kind of frustrating. And you know, I should probably mark some of these, because yeah, I'm gonna mark these connectors because I'm getting a whole bunch of like little 2-prong connectors. I got 2 2-prong connectors. As long as I mark one of them, I should know where the other one goes. But this is what I'm going to be doing. Trying to get this board out just so I can test those few components. I may regret buying this cassette deck after all is said and done, because just getting this board out is going to be kind of a chore. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to keep fighting this. I'll be back. All right, what I'm going to do here is just kind of insert into the video how I got to the point where I knew, or I suspected, right, some components may have failed. So if you go to the table of contents here, we're going to look for the counter meter unit, which is located on page 29. So go down to page 29. It's around here somewhere. PC's been acting really funky this morning. Hey, went right to it. So here's the counter PWB unit. Here's the -18 that we need to look for. Now that's not coming into this board, but it's coming from the PowerLogic PWB board. If I scroll up, and I'm going to bypass that board because the information on the board is not very useful. If I look at the schematic for the cassette deck, here's the power supply. I also followed the connector that went from the meter unit to the main board here. It's located on connector number 7, and this is how the board is laid out, right? It's kind of this L-shaped board. So it's connector number 7. Here's the -18. All I did was I started tracing, right? Now, when I was poking for voltages or prodding for voltages on the top of the board, what I noticed was that there was no voltage on the base of TR19. So I had voltage on the emitter, voltage on the collector. No voltages were listed, but I did have voltage on either side of that. So, right, I kind of immediately suspected something was wrong in here. That's when I tested the Zener, tested C21. Now I tested the Zener in circuit because I could test it from the top of the board. And it seemed to be fine, but the C21 I could not test from the top. I couldn't really power it on and test from the bottom. So I pulled C21, and you will see the results soon, but it was in circuit or leaky, right? When I pulled it, it's a 47 microfarad, so it definitely, it should not say in circuit or leaky. Just to be safe, I did pull C22 and C20 just because, just to be safe, and I had the board apart. So those were fine. What I leave out of the video coming up is after I restored the meters, I did double check the voltage on pin 5, and I'm getting 17.9, and I'm still getting 9. So just to let you know, I did check that voltage and tested it afterwards. Tested just fine. So so that's how I got to right where I was looking at those components there. All right, so I looked at the schematic, and I'll try to flash up the schematic on the screen and kind of circle where I was focusing my attention. But I pulled C21, I pulled C20, C21, C22, and throw this on my little peak tester here. These will grab it. Although that is pretty much what it was saying. It says in circuit or leaky capacitor. So hopefully that was it. I have not completely put everything back, and I haven't bundled everything, and I haven't screwed everything down, so got to be kind of careful. But let's see what happens. Let's see if we got meters. And we got meters. All right. So it's a bum C21. So that was easier than I had anticipated. Fingers crossed, nothing else happens. That went a lot quicker than I thought it would. So I've got to figure out how to get this metal piece back on the side over here and put the rest of the screws in. But there you have it. If you have one of these, you have a bad display. Not saying C21 is the culprit, but pull the service manual, start poking and prodding around that. And an additional thing I had to do is I had to remove the screw for the power switch to kind of move this assembly out of the way a little bit so I could flex that board out. So anyway, I think I'm going to wrap it up for this video. As always, if you like what you see, like, hit subscribe. Catch you in the next one.